Infidelity is a deeply painful betrayal that can shatter trust and destabilize relationships. When a wife cheats, she may employ sophisticated psychological strategies to conceal her actions, leveraging emotional manipulation, societal expectations, and behavioral shifts to deflect suspicion. These tactics are often subtle, calculated, and designed to exploit a husband's desire to be a supportive partner. Below, we explore 7 psychological tricks that some wives use to hide their cheating, providing a detailed analysis of how these strategies work, why they're effective, and how men can recognize and protect themselves from such manipulation. This exploration is rooted in psychological principles, social dynamics, and real-world patterns of behavior, offering an in-depth understanding of infidelity's hidden mechanisms. Trick 1. Guilt reversal. Making you feel bad for asking questions. One of the most effective tools in a cheating wife's arsenal is guilt reversal, a tactic that turns your legitimate concerns into accusations against your character. When you notice something off, perhaps she's secretive with her phone or unusually distant, and ask a simple question like, "Who were you texting so late?" She doesn't respond with clarity. Instead, she flips the script. "I can't believe you don't trust me after all we've been through," or "Your paranoia is ruining our marriage." How it works. This tactic exploits a husband's desire to be seen as a trusting, non-controlling partner. Society often pressures men to avoid appearing jealous or insecure, as these traits are stereotypically viewed as unmasculine. By framing your questions as attacks on her integrity, she shifts the conversation away from her behavior and onto your supposed flaws. You end up apologizing for asking, promising to trust more, and suppressing your instincts to avoid further conflict. Why it's effective? Guilt reversal works because it creates a psychological feedback loop. Each time you raise a concern and face an emotional attack, you become less likely to ask again. Over time, this erodes your confidence in your own observations, making you question whether you're crazy or overreacting. This self-doubt is precisely what she counts on, as it allows her to continue her behavior unchecked. Real-world example. Imagine noticing your wife is secretive about her phone, locking it quickly when you enter the room. You ask, "Why do you always hide your screen?" Instead of explaining, she responds, "Why are you so controlling? Don't you trust me?" Suddenly you're defending your intentions, apologizing for your jealousy, and promising to be less suspicious. Meanwhile, her secrecy remains unaddressed. How to recognize and counter it. A faithful wife addresses concerns with transparency and empathy, understanding that trust is built through open communication. If your questions are met with defensiveness, accusations, or emotional outbursts, take note, trust your instincts, and calmly insist on clear answers. Refuse to accept guilt as a substitute for honesty. For example, respond with, "I'm not accusing you, I just want to understand what's going on. Can we talk about it calmly?" This keeps the focus on her behavior without escalating the conflict. Trick 2. The perfect wife performance. Overcompensating with kindness. When guilt weighs heavily, some cheating wives adopt a perfect wife persona to mask their betrayal. Suddenly, she's cooking gourmet meals, cleaning meticulously, buying thoughtful gifts, or agreeing with you on issues that once sparked arguments. At first, this feels like a marriage renaissance, a return to happier times. But this sudden shift often hides a darker motive. How it works. The perfect wife act serves as a guilt-driven overcompensation. By showering you with affection, she alleviates her own remorse, convincing herself that her infidelity is less harmful because she's still a good wife. Additionally, this behavior builds an emotional buffer. If you discover her cheating, she can point to her recent kindness to confuse your anger or justify her actions. "How can you be mad when I've been so good to you?" Why it's effective. This tactic exploits your desire for a harmonious marriage. Men often interpret increased affection as a sign of improvement, hesitating to question it for fear of disrupting the newfound peace. The sudden perfection also creates a sense of emotional debt, making you feel grateful for her efforts and less likely to confront suspicious behavior. Real-world example. Your wife, who hasn't cooked in months, starts preparing elaborate dinners nightly. She buys you a new watch just because and agrees to watch your favorite show without complaint. You're thrilled, thinking, "She's finally appreciating me." But later, you discover she's been texting another man during these dinners, using her kindness to distract you from her secret life. How to recognize and counter it. Genuine improvement in a marriage is gradual and accompanied by honest discussions about past issues. Sudden, unexplained perfection is a red flag, especially if it coincides with other suspicious behaviors. Ask yourself, does this change align with our recent conversations, or does it feel like a performance? Gently probe the motivation behind her actions, such as, I've noticed you've been extra attentive lately. What's inspired this? A truthful response will feel authentic. A defensive one may signal guilt. Trick 3. Social circle manipulation. Using friends as alibis. Cheating wives often leverage their social networks to create plausible alibis and deflect suspicion. By enlisting friends to corroborate their stories, they construct a facade of innocent socializing that's difficult to challenge without seeming controlling. How it works. She surrounds herself with friends who either condone her behavior or have their own secrets to protect, creating a mutual cover system. Girls' nights out become opportunities to meet affair partners, while work events or book clubs serve as excuses for unexplained absences. If you question her whereabouts, her friends back her up, providing seemingly credible confirmation of her story. Why it's effective. This tactic exploits societal norms about women's independence and the importance of friendships. Questioning her social activities can make you feel like you're stifling her freedom, especially when she frames it as, I need time with my friends. Don't you want me to be happy? The involvement of multiple people in her cover story adds a layer of credibility, making it harder to disprove her claims. Real-world example. Your wife says she's attending a weekly book club, but you notice she returns home later than expected, smelling of cologne. When you ask about it, she says, Ask Sarah. She was there. Sarah confirms the story, but you later learn the book club was a cover for a romantic rendezvous, with Sarah complicit in the lie. How to recognize and counter it. Pay attention to inconsistencies in her stories or overly coordinated responses from her friends. Notice if she spends time with new friends who seem to normalize infidelity or disparage marriage. Trust your gut if her social activities feel secretive or excessive. Instead of accusing, express curiosity. Tell me more about this book club. What do you guys talk about? Vague or defensive answers may indicate deception. Trick 4. Digital compartmentalization. Hiding a secret online life. In the digital age, affairs often thrive in virtual spaces. Cheating wives become adept at compartmentalizing their digital lives, using technology to maintain secret communications while appearing transparent at home. How it works. She uses multiple platforms strategically, work apps for flirtatious chats, social media for innocent interactions, and encrypted apps like Signal for serious affair communications. Her phone becomes a fortress, always face down, password protected, or taken everywhere, even to the bathroom. If you express concern, she accuses you of invading her privacy, framing your curiosity as a violation. Why it's effective. Digital compartmentalization allows her to build emotional intimacy with someone else while sitting next to you. The constant connection to an affair partner feels less real to her, making it easier to justify as just talking. Meanwhile, sophisticated techniques like auto-deleting messages or hidden apps minimize evidence, leaving you with little to confront. Real-world example. During family movie night, your wife is glued to her phone, smiling at messages she claims are from a co-worker. When you ask to see, she snaps, "Why do you need to check my phone? Don't you trust me?" Later, you discover she's been using WhatsApp to send intimate messages to another man, hidden behind her work excuse. How to recognize and counter it. Notice changes in her phone habits, new passwords, constant guarding, or nervousness when you're near her device. Transparency in a marriage includes shared access to devices, so don't accept privacy as an excuse for secrecy. Calmly state, "I've noticed you're protective of your phone lately. Can we talk about why?" If she refuses to engage, it's a sign something may be amiss. Trick 5. Narrative reconstruction. Rewriting your marriage's history. One of the most insidious tricks is narrative reconstruction, where a cheating wife subtly rewrites your shared history to justify her infidelity. She begins portraying your marriage as flawed or doomed, emphasizing your shortcomings while downplaying your efforts. How it works. She reinterprets happy memories as fake or compromises, claims you never understood her, or suggests you've been growing apart for years. This revisionism serves three purposes. It reduces her guilt by framing the marriage as broken, provides justification to others, friends, family, or lawyers, and emotionally prepares her for leaving by convincing herself the relationship was never viable. Why it's effective. This tactic erodes your confidence in the relationship's foundation. By questioning past happiness, she makes you doubt your own perceptions, wondering if the marriage was ever good. This gradual rewriting also aligns her social circle with her narrative, making her infidelity seem inevitable or deserved. Real-world example. Your wife, who once cherished your anniversary trips, now claims those trips were just us pretending to be happy. She criticizes your career choices as holding her back, ignoring years of mutual decisions. Later, you learn she's been confiding in an affair partner about your failing marriage. How to recognize and counter it. Be wary of sudden shifts in how she describes your past. If she dismisses shared joys or exaggerates conflicts, challenge her narrative gently. I remember those times differently. Weren't we happy then? Document key moments in your marriage to ground yourself in reality. A faithful partner celebrates shared history, not rewrites it to suit a new agenda. Trick 6. Emotional withdrawal. Creating distance under the guise of independence. A cheating wife may withdraw emotionally, reducing intimacy and shared activities while framing it as a need for personal growth or independence. This creates space for her affair while making you feel guilty for expecting closeness. How it works. She stops sharing her thoughts, avoids deep conversations, or disengages from joint plans, claiming she needs time to herself. This withdrawal is often subtle, disguised as self-discovery or stress, but it allows her to redirect emotional energy to her affair partner. If you push for connection, she may accuse you of smothering her. Why it's effective. This tactic leverages societal respect for personal autonomy, making you hesitant to challenge her need for space. It also shifts emotional loyalty to someone else, weakening the marriage's foundation without overt conflict. Real-world example. Your wife, once eager to plan vacations together, now says, I need to focus on myself for a while. She spends evenings working late, but is actually meeting her affair partner. When you suggest a date night, she brushes it off, saying, I need space to figure out who I am. How to recognize and counter it. Healthy independence enhances a marriage, not detracts from it. If her space feels like avoidance, express your feelings without accusing. I've noticed you seem distant lately. Can we talk about what's going on? Persistent withdrawal, especially paired with secrecy, warrants further attention. Trick 7. Strategic planning. Preparing an exit while maintaining appearances. Cheating wives often engage in strategic planning, quietly laying the groundwork for a potential exit while maintaining the appearance of commitment. This involves financial, social, and emotional preparations that position her for life after the marriage. How it works. She may open secret bank accounts, consult lawyers discreetly, or build a support network that validates her choices. She avoids long-term plans with you, like buying a house or planning a family, and makes decisions based on her individual goals. Meanwhile, she maintains a facade of normalcy to avoid suspicion. Why it's effective. This tactic is devastating because it's proactive and calculated. By planning ahead, she minimizes the consequences of her infidelity while maximizing her options. The gradual nature of her disengagement makes it hard to pinpoint until it's too late. Real-world example. Your wife stops discussing future vacations and starts saving money in an account you don't know about. She spends more time with friends who encourage living her truth. When you confront her, she insists everything is fine, but she's already consulting a divorce attorney. How to recognize and counter it. Watch for subtle signs of disengagement, vague responses about future plans, unexplained financial changes, or increased time with new social circles. Address it directly. I've noticed you're avoiding talks about our future. Can we discuss where we're headed? Transparency and shared goals is a hallmark of a committed relationship. Why these tricks work and how to protect yourself. These psychological tricks are effective because they exploit societal expectations, trusting husbands, women's independence, emotional vulnerabilities, fear of conflict, desire for harmony, and cognitive biases. self-doubt, denial of painful truths. They're layered, with each tactic reinforcing the others. Guilt reversal silences questions, the perfect wife act distracts, and narrative reconstruction justifies betrayal. To protect yourself, adopt these strategies. Trust your instincts. Your gut is often right. Don't let guilt or accusations make you doubt clear red flags. Demand transparency. A healthy marriage thrives on openness. Refuse to accept secrecy as privacy. Document patterns. Keep a private record of suspicious behaviors to counter narrative manipulation. Seek support. Confide in a trusted friend or therapist to gain perspective and avoid isolation. Set boundaries. Clearly state that secrecy, defensiveness, or emotional withdrawal are unacceptable. Female infidelity often differs from male infidelity in its emotional depth and strategic planning. While men may engage in impulsive physical affairs, women are more likely to develop emotional connections that shift their loyalty away from the marriage. This makes female cheating particularly threatening, as it often signals a deeper disinvestment in the relationship. Women also tend to plan their exits meticulously, building support networks and rationalizing their choices to minimize guilt. Understanding these tricks empowers you to see through manipulation and demand the honesty you deserve. A marriage built on trust requires mutual transparency, not psychological warfare. Your value as a person isn't defined by your wife's fidelity. It's rooted in your integrity and willingness to face the truth, however painful. By recognizing these tactics, you can reclaim your clarity and make informed decisions about your future. These 7 psychological tricks, guilt reversal, perfect wife performance, social circle manipulation, digital compartmentalization, narrative reconstruction, emotional withdrawal, and strategic planning, are designed to obscure infidelity and keep you in the dark. But once you understand their mechanics, they lose their power. Trust your observations, seek answers without fear, and prioritize your self-respect. A relationship should be a partnership of honesty, not a battleground of deception. Stay vigilant, stay wise, and never settle for less than the truth.